What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we have some big news coming out of Bungie, and it's not good. Another round of layoffs has hit the company, and CEO Pete Parsons has made a statement. Within this video, we're going to be going over this statement and analyzing what it means for Destiny 2 and the gaming industry moving forward. And so, let's get started. So, the article is called The New Path for Bungie, with Pete Parsons saying, "This morning, I'm sharing with all of you some of the most difficult changes we've ever had to make as a studio. Due to the rising cost of development and industry shifts, as well as enduring economic conditions, it has become clear that we need to make substantial changes to our cost structure and focus development efforts entirely on Destiny and Marathon. That means beginning today, 220 of our roles will be eliminated, representing roughly 17% of the studio's workforce." So right off the bat, yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, nearly 20% of Bungie Studio is now eliminated starting today. Like, that is a huge chunk of the workforce. And he talks a little bit about some of the reasons behind that, rising cost, economic conditions. We're going to discuss that more after reading the full statement, so let's continue. "These actions will affect every level of the company, including most of our executive and senior leader roles. Today is a difficult and painful day, especially for our departing colleagues, all of which have made important and valuable contributions to Bungie. Our goal is to support them with the utmost care and respect. For everyone affected by this job reduction, we will be offering a generous exit package, including severance, bonus, and health coverage. I realize all of this is hard news, especially following the success we have seen with the final shape. But as we've navigated the broader economic realities over the last year and after exhausting all other mitigation options, this has become a necessary decision to refocus our studio and our business with more realistic goals and viable financials." So this statement is super interesting because he brings up the final shape doing well, and it did. I mean, if you look at the player numbers on Steam when the final shape came out, it was some of the highest we've ever seen, the highest in years. There's no doubt the final shape was a success. Highly rated as well. A lot of positive sentiment from the community. The final shape slapped. And so having these layoffs directly after that, I mean, we're not even in episode 2, for goodness sakes. It's like final shape happened, it was a banger, and now we're laying off people. That is pretty surprising. Like, you'd think with the success of an expansion, things would be better. Now, again, the economy is mentioned again, and there's potentially two tactics for this. One tactic is just blaming things on these broader, uncontrollable factors. The economy is getting worse. The other thing is that the economy is literally getting worse. I mean, everyone watching probably has realized that. Go buy groceries these days. Go fill up your car with gas. Go try to get a house. Good luck, you know? And so with people having less disposable income, they're spending less in the Eververse store and less on video games overall. So undoubtedly this is a factor, but you could be over-exaggerating this factor because it makes it seem like it was all just not your fault, right? Now, continuing from there, he says, "We are committing to two major changes today that we believe will support our focus, leverage Sony's strengths, and create new opportunities for Bungie talent. First, we are deepening our integration with Sony Interactive Entertainment, working to integrate 155 of our roles, roughly 12%, into SEI, so Sony, over the next few quarters. Sony has worked tirelessly with us to identify roles for as many of our people as possible, enabling us together to save a great deal of talent that would otherwise have been affected by the reduction in force." So that's interesting. I think they're saying they're still laying off 220 people, and then of the existing people, they're looking to integrate 155 into Sony. I don't think they're saying 155 of the 220, but it's kind of, I guess it could be worded a bit better, or at least I'm not fully 100% sure on this wording. I think overall they're saying like the layoffs would have had to be worse if we couldn't have integrated people into Sony, right? Like, some people went to Sony instead of being just straight up laid off, which that's like, that's not good, certainly saying that. I mean, I guess it was good Sony was there to integrate these people, but they continued again talking about Sony PlayStation. They say, second, we are working with PlayStation Studios leadership to spin one of our incubation products, an action game set in a brand new science fantasy universe, to form a new studio within PlayStation Studios to continue its promising development. Wow, okay, so Bungie has been working on many products in the background, right? Some of this stuff I've heard via rumors, some of the stuff, off the record conversations, but Bungie has had a lot of projects and a lot of them have gone nowhere, right? I mean, one of the things, Matter, which is public, they publicly announced this game, Matter, this new like RPG game. And it just disappeared. I think they announced that it was never happening, like it was canceled or something like that. So undoubtedly they spend a lot of money on these projects that go nowhere, that they don't actually bring to fruition. One project they did bring to fruition, of course, is Marathon, still under development. That looks like it's not getting canceled, it's still going forward. But this is actually interesting that instead of maybe canceling one of these projects, not having enough resources, they're actually like giving this new IP, this project, to Sony, and Sony is kind of taking over developing this project. But let's continue on with the statement. This will be a time of tremendous change for our studio. Let's unpack how we ended up in this position. It's important to understand how we got here. Okay, here we go. For over 5 years, it has been our goal to ship games in 3 enduring global franchises. To realize that ambition, we set up several incubation projects, each seeded with senior development leaders from our existing teams. We eventually realized that this model stretched our talent too thin too quickly. It also forced our studio support structures to scale to a larger level than we could realistically support, given our 2 primary products in development, Destiny and Marathon. So he's kind of saying what I just said, right? Like, have a lot of projects in incubation and a lot of them go nowhere. Now, why is it your goal to have 3 enduring franchises? Like, what a random number. Why not 2? Why not 1? Like, we'll talk about that later, but he continues from there. Additionally, in 2023, our rapid expansion ran headlong into broad economic slowdown, a sharp downturn in the games industry, our quality miss with Destiny 2 Lightfall, and the need to give both The Final Shape and Marathon the time needed to ensure both projects deliver at the quality our players expect and desire. We were overly ambitious, our financial safety margins were subsequently exceeded, and we began turning red. After this new trajectory became clear, we knew we had to change our course and speed, and we did everything we could to avoid today's outcome. Even with exhaustive efforts undertaken across our leadership and product teams to resolve our financial challenges, these steps were simply not enough. I would love for him to go into specifics. Like, our C-suite executives took on all these things to try to reduce cost. Like what? I would love for Pete to say, we reduced salaries of our C-suite executives by 20%, by 15%. Like, just saying we tried everything. I'm not going to say what we tried, but we tried everything. I don't really like that. Why are you avoiding saying specifically some of the cost-saving measures you enacted, right? If they were legitimate. Anyways, he says, as a result, today we must say goodbye to incredible talent, colleagues, and friends. This will be a challenging time at Bungie, and we'll need to help our team navigate these changes in the weeks and months ahead. This will be a hard week, and we know that our team will need time to process, to ask questions, and to absorb this news. Today and over the next several weeks, the team will host meetings and town halls, team breakout sessions, and private individual sessions to ensure we are keeping our communication open and transparent. Bungie will continue to make great games. We still have over 850 team members building Destiny and Marathon, and we will continue to build amazing experiences that exceed our players' expectations. There will be a time to talk about our goals and projects, but today is not that day. Today, our focus is on supporting our people. I love when CEOs always talk about like supporting our people after making massive layoffs, right? Like, okay. But obviously this is bad. Obviously, this is an indication that Bungie as a studio is encountering some pretty big difficulties, right? Like, layoffs are always an indication that something is going wrong. Now, in this whole spiel, there is a lot of talk about the economy, and we alluded to it earlier, but there is some truth in that. Bungie is not the only gaming company making layoffs. There has been massive layoffs all throughout the gaming industry for a couple of years now, and a lot of that is due to the economy. So what happened is, with the lockdowns, everyone was stuck inside, gaming exploded. The numbers absolutely exploded. And we had great interest rates at the time. So a lot of these gaming companies expanded. They frankly overexpanded. And so when stuff shrunk again, when the number of people gaming because they could go outside drastically fell, and the economy got worse, and so people aren't spending as much on top of that, you have layoffs, right? Now, the problem is that that is not the only factor. That is a factor, certainly, and you can see it industry-wide, but it's not the only factor. And someone had to make the decision to hire more people, to open up more projects, to get loans that are now significantly more expensive, right? So that person is usually the CEO. So the same people whose, big brainwave was to massively overexpand in a temporary bubble are the people who never actually get fired themselves and have to talk about all these completely unforeseen factors of the economy. Just suddenly we woke up and all these things happened and we have to fire all these people. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out to completely blame the economy totally. Undoubtedly, it's a factor. Undoubtedly, it is a factor. But again, it's a way to kind of shirk responsibility from yourself. Now, interestingly, it's not the only thing blamed. I was kind of surprised that this statement does get into the fact that Bungie had so many incubation projects. Like, they talk about, we wanted 3 global franchises. Well, Bungie, guess what? On your quest to 3, you almost don't have one. I mean, you have one absolute banger. Destiny 2 is one of, if not the most successful, overall live service game. Honestly, think about every other live service game coming out. Concord, dead on arrival. All these games, dead on arrival, man. Destiny is, compared to its competitors, just standing alone in the live service genre. Bungie has, for a lot of it, figured it out. That's amazing. And so, apparently to not be satisfied with that and to demand that you need to have 3 of those seems greedy, right? It seems unnecessary. And funny enough, Destiny players have been calling Bungie out on this for years. The joke, the meme, is that all the good PvP people went over to Marathon. That's why we don't get any more PvP maps, or we didn't for years. That's why PvP is in disarray, because all the good PvP people are off on a different game. They're doing whatever, right? Someone is talented working on Destiny, put them on a different project. The Destiny 2 community has been making jokes and making complaints about how Bungie isn't paying enough attention to the Destiny franchise in favor of these other projects for years. And so when Pete Parsons comes out and says that exact thing, we focused on too many projects, we spread ourselves too thin. We have been telling you for years you're doing that, for years. And again, it's just so sad. It has to end in layoffs. It always has to end in layoffs, and it's never the layoffs of the C-suite executives. Pete Parsons never sitting down, because guess what? I guarantee the people getting laid off today, none of them made the decision to start all these incubation projects that went nowhere. The person who did that was Pete Parsons, and he's still very much there. And this is the thing that happens every time, and this is the thing that's worrying. The studio is smaller, you lost a bunch of talent, but the people who made the terrible decisions that led to today are still very much there. Maybe they've learned from it. There is stuff in this statement that says, we realize this was a mistake. I hope so. But it's like, you have someone in charge making these bad decisions that are resulting in these layoffs. If they're still there, it doesn't give me a lot of confidence they're not going to keep making bad decisions. But here's the thing, guys. I'm not the only one who thinks that. Here is Griffin Bennett, who actually used to work on Destiny socials and got laid off in the first round of layoffs that happened before the Failsafe, with a tweet that's kind of popping off right now saying Pete is a joke. So again, it could be a scorned ex-employee. Sorry, Griffin, if you see this, but it really could be. But that sentiment, I guarantee he's not the only one who thinks that. I guarantee now that you have the second round of layoffs, there's a lot of people internally at Bungie who are not happy with the CEO. And that's not good. Like, that's not conducive of a good working environment. And how many people, like, you have all these layoffs, people might just quit. They might say, I'm done working for this guy. Like, I feel like my job is constantly in jeopardy. I'm done working for this clown. Every decision he's made has been a bad one, right? Like, that is another big problem, is that you now have this, I'm sure, internal strife at Bungie with a lot of the employees not happy that we have a second round of big layoffs and Pete comes out the other end completely unscathed, right? Or at least seemingly unscathed. I really am annoyed that during this whole statement, again, like I mentioned it earlier, we've done all these things to reduce costs. Like what? Name them. Like, why wouldn't you say, we did this and this and this? It makes your efforts to avoid these layoffs seem more legitimate than just keeping it so broad and up in the air. So I don't know why they didn't do that. Overall, guys, we'll see. Now, the potential good news, I will say, like, the light at the end of the tunnel, I'm just trying to be positive at the end of this video because overall, like, this is obviously not good. But the one potential maybe positive is that by shutting down all of these incubation projects and by realizing that you can't just be developing all these projects that go nowhere, at the end of the day, is that you have more talent on the one project that actually is live, which is Destiny 2, right? The more talent actually working for Destiny 2, the better the game will be. Constantly shifting this talent away from your franchise, away from Destiny 2, has undoubtedly hurt Destiny 2. And so perhaps this will result in a lot of the talent on these projects coming back into working for Destiny 2. However, they did say that a lot of them are going over to Sony to work on something else, so maybe not. But hey, maybe it'll happen. Anyways, guys, that's the news. That's the big news about Bungie. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.